Have you ever heard, or maybe said yourself, but my students could never work quietly like that? Me too. And our beliefs in this area can be the roadblock to answering what is differentiated instruction and writing, because we believe the suggestions won't work in our classroom. Hi there teachers, Marian Busfield here from Engaging Curiosity to empower you to take charge in the classroom by supporting you with classroom management strategies and resources. Today I am sharing my blog post, How to Confidently Know What is Differentiated Instruction in Writing. I am a faith-led, married, mother of two, grandmother to one, outdoor enthusiast, and retired teacher. My passion is to share what I know about teaching to support this wonderful new generation of teachers. In the links down below, you will find my free classroom management checklist. Download the checklist to check off what you have in place already and to set some goals for what you see as your next need for your own classroom management. Your context is unique to you. Thank you for joining me today, and please remember to press like and subscribe below. That is the best way you can help me to reach other teachers. So let's start with differentiation in writing and your classroom management plan. Mary Shea of Canisius College, in her 2015 article, Differentiating Writing Instruction, Meeting the Diverse Needs of Authors in a Classroom, in the Journal of Inquiry and Action in Education, said, differentiating calls for effective classroom management, another topic in itself. So if you aren't differentiating in writing, it may be that you are struggling with a growth mindset or classroom management. There may be a few tips in my blog on growth mindset, 10 ways a growth mindset classroom transforms classroom management. That might help. Find the link down below. Otherwise, you will find that effective small group instruction and student collaboration will depend upon your classroom management plan and effective classroom management techniques. I will share a link to another blog post I've written on this down below. Classroom management and differentiation do go hand in hand though. Without differentiation, behavior is often escalated, which impacts what classroom strategies, management strategies you need to implement. For more on that, I encourage you to read another blog post on what is classroom management and why is it important to understand the pillars of classroom management strategies that I share in posts throughout my blog. So you have your classroom management in hand. Now what? Meaningful work. Are you ever overwhelmed and stressed out because your students are not making any progress on their writing? Well, let's check in on some important aspects of writing instruction. For students to be successful in writing, first they need opportunities to write. Writing begets writing. I am not the first person to say it, but it is so very true. Your students need authentic opportunities for writing as a part of your differentiation in writing. I am not talking tracing over someone else's writing or some nice font. That is printing practice, not writing practice. I know one student who came to me and his writing, printing, and spelling were abysmal. He did improve dramatically and quickly, and I was curious why the sudden change. When I looked at the report card from his prior school, I learned that his writing instruction had consisted mainly of grammar writing sheets. After reading about an aspect of grammar, he was supposed to learn to write by answering sentences about that part of grammar. Needless to say, he was neither engaged nor motivated with writing. Given the opportunity to write authentically, focusing on the purpose of writing, which is communicating his thoughts, not the technical aspects of writing, grammar, punctuation, etc., everything improved. Now, no shame here. If that's what you're doing now, there's lots of time and opportunity to change. He had things to say, and darn it, he was going to say them. Another example was one little girl whose writing, reading, and spelling all improved drastically just because she regularly created books for her little sister. The contents were just about what was important to her in her life. This little girl entered my class as a poor writer and left at grade level. And all of those books just meant she was writing for fun in her free time. No one was assessing that journal. It was just authentic writing that she practiced regularly. I would love to say that I was a masterful instructor of writing in her life, but I do truly believe that her growth was strongly linked to those booklets she was writing for fun. So, how do authentic writing opportunities impact what is differentiated instruction in writing? Children's writing is a reflection of things that are important to them, whether those events are real or imagined. They can also write about favorite or influential stories they have read or heard. Students also write to report what they've learned from research, activities, or experience in their own private and personal lives. Nonfiction writing topics tied to your current science theme just make sense. Student engagement in writing means we, as teachers, need to understand that writing is about composing first and all the other stuff, grammar, writing, handwriting, spelling, sentence structure, second. If students become overwhelmed by the latter, they can lose their heart for their message. When teachers put function, letting students communicate what is on their hearts, ahead of form, grammar, etc., students do become more engaged. The moral of the story is that authentic writing is the cornerstone of differentiated writing instruction. And I'm not throwing out the technical aspects. I'm saying let's focus on engagement at first. In fact, including students' interest is actually a part of the core principles of differentiation in instruction as outlined by Carol Tomlinson, a leader in differentiation in instruction. For more on that, watch my other videos on differentiation instruction or check out the complete blog post at the Engaging Curiosity website. See the link below. Authentic opportunities to write are essential to create strong writers. So what is differentiated instruction authenticity? Authentic writing tasks engage and motivate students, help to get to know your students and provide them an opportunity to communicate about who they are with the world. Having problems with my words today. So authentic writing topics to support differentiation in the classroom for writing include incorporating all the genres. Consider the topics under each genre as I share them. For letter writing, ask your students to create letters for Christmas, Valentine's, Mother's Day, Father's Day, Diwali, to different levels of government for social studies, to environmental groups for science, to field trip guides or classroom visitors to say thank you. From nonfiction writing, you will find out what they already know. Writing prompts in these areas can be a great formative assessment before you dig into a topic. Consider prompts for research writing, notes for science and on classroom visitors, collaborative class book for year-end memories. In narrative writing, they are sharing their thoughts, dreams, and experiences. Getting to know you topics for beginning of the year, reflections after school breaks, positive memories, personal challenges, which led to them overcoming and feeling success, great SEL and growth mindset activity. You know, I was never a fan of poetry writing, but I learned to appreciate it when I taught it. In large part, that was because I learned how to connect it with my life. Poetry writing comes in many forms, and I can't think of one form that is not conducive to these topics. Seasonal changes, celebrations, holidays such as Christmas, Valentine's, Mother's Day, Father's Day, Diwali's, and so much more. Themes such as camping, a hugely popular one for many children. Descriptive writing really helps your students to become engaging writers as they learn to add details, organize their writing, and create imagery as necessary. Assign fun topics for descriptive writing, as then they will really want to share details. A fun activity is to have students describe something in writing as a clue, read it to a friend, and then the description has to have enough information for their friend to guess what they are describing. Consider some of the following ideas. Describe a Halloween costume, a gift, book, or game. Go outside on a walk and try some descriptive writing. What about how-to writing? This includes anything that has a step-by-step process. Washing their hands, reading a book, completing a STEM activity would be a ball. Give a simple cooking class and have them detail the steps. This can be literally anything. Fiction lets their imagination go wild. This is when I really like to show them how to get their hands on in writing. Once you have offered topics, let them create their own story with Lego or other materials. Their imagination will now be fully engaged. Take a picture of their creation for them to use on other stories. This strategy is differentiated, creates engagement, and often leads to more detailed stories. Topics might include any two forest creatures having a party or a playtime. What about space aliens landing in the neighborhood? Zoo animals escaping and visiting a theme park? Writing for a reading genre theme, i.e. fairy tale, sci-fi, fable, poetry? Come on, you get the idea. There's lots of stuff out there. Oftentimes we ignore list building writing, but it has such a value. For your disorganized students, it is so much more than a chance to practice writing. It is the beginning of learning how to organize their lives. Here are some opportunities for ways to use this type of writing in class. During social emotional instruction, students create an organized list of self-calming techniques. Personal goals for school get put on a list. Have everyone write the steps for a transition, compare them, flesh them out, and create one list for the board. What will they need to remember from home for their upcoming field trip? On a field trip, have them list 5 new things they learned as a reflection. Just remember, children have a lot to say and they love to be known by you. If you give them a pencil, paper, and writing topic, they can connect to you and will develop as writers. Now, we have engaged them in the task of writing. Let's talk about formative assessment. For some reason, assessment has become synonymous with data collection in the form of little numbers in columns on a page. Although it is true that assessment is data collection, the type of formative assessment that you get from a writing conference has always felt to me more like having a beautiful, quiet moment of connection and celebration with a student about their writing. The first words I say are always positive feedback on their writing. This can be anything from their effort, creativity, or engagement to their beautiful printing, improvement in spelling, or creative topic. Even students who have sat in their seats stuck and not writing much can be congratulated for not being a distraction to others. I wouldn't say it like that, of course. I would say something like, wow, I know from how quiet you have been that you have been trying to focus and do your job, but you do seem to be a little bit stuck. Let's see if we can get you restarted. Of course, they may not have been sitting at their desk trying to focus and do their job, but assuming the best is always a good strategy. Assuming the best sets the stage for an open conference and provides the groundwork for a fresh start. For more information on seeing things through a positive lens, check out my blog post on positive behavioral reinforcement. The link is below. As we work together, I lean into what the student is saying and we come up together with a goal. Once we have come up with a goal together, I put my initials at the end of the last word they have written. I explain that this will help us both to know how effective our work together has been. This also prevents disagreement about how much work has been done in the interim and provides a visual reminder of what we need to check in on. Then we use the assessments to decide what is differentiated instruction. Of course, not all writing conferences will be like the one above, and that is the purpose of writing conferences. But by meeting with students one-on-one, we support the students as they create their independent writing goals because choice and goal setting is a part of what is differentiated instruction. It's part of the core principles from Carol Tomlinson. This brief assessment has also left me with more questions than answers. Is the student disengaged, poorly focused, disinterested in the topic, sick, lacking confidence, overwhelmed, needing challenge, curious to dig deeper? However, it is also a starting point. If this is the first writing conference, I will pursue those questions over time. Some of the answers may even become evident over the course of the school day. If these questions arise in the middle of the year, I may discover this genre is not to their taste, and perhaps I need to find a mentor text that will create engagement. Perhaps mom or dad is out of town for a few days, so the child just needs a little bit more support, emotional support overall. Perhaps there are cousins in town and the student is tired, or perhaps their best friend didn't want to play at recess. If it turns out that something traumatic has happened or they are ill, use your discretion, judgment, and compassion. Is writing still a priority today, or do you suggest they rest quietly at their desk and make an appointment with them for the next day or whenever is most appropriate for you to set a writing goal together? As a side note, I have taught students who have been significantly traumatized. Some of them want normalcy and find relief in their work, others do not. You will not necessarily get all of that information from your conference or from the student, but it will still help you to follow their lead. My point is that even when there is no writing on the paper, there is lots of information to be mined from this writing conference. With the student, you then plan the next step for their writing together. Hence the value of formative assessment, otherwise known as data collection. And of course, you will keep anecdotal notes somewhere in an orderly fashion to help you track your students. I take my notes while I'm doing the assessment. Anecdotal notes are really outside of the scope of this blog, but I've linked a post down below from Crafting Comprehension that will provide you with some ideas on how to take anecdotal notes. You may be wondering, what am I writing notes about? Okay, so first of all, you want to be checking their actual writing skills. There are many places that offer rubrics and checklists for writing. However, I encourage you to check with your administrator or colleagues if you haven't already done so. Consistency of language and expectations is key. Otherwise, it is no wonder parents ask, why was my child marked higher by last year's teacher? There are very few good answers to that question. If there is no consistency in your school, look into local, then provincial or state expectations. Here in British Columbia, Canada, we have provincially created rubrics to guide us. Not all teachers use them, but I do. I love these because they also provide student writing samples that I can use to compare to my students' writing. I typically printed out the rubrics and I used a different color highlighter each semester to identify what I had seen grow over the course of time in the students' writing. This gave me a solid ground on which to stand and defend my assessments. Of course, in addition to assessing skills, you are assessing other aspects of the student's work in the writing workshop, as discussed above in formative assessments. So what is the purpose of the notes you take during formative assessment for differentiation in writing? Okay. Are you making a public note? Something that you tell the student you are writing down that encourages them, as well as documenting that moment in time for you? Is it a private note in which you express a question or concern you want to follow up on later? Are you documenting an idea that the conference brought to mind that would enhance writing workshop? From time to time, I have reviewed notes, and from my notes over time, I get a picture of student growth. Perhaps the student writes better when responding to a prompt. Writing prompts can be very effective for a lot of students, and they are research supported. Other students may be more engaged and productive when told to write a story within a genre. For instance, if you are doing a unit on fairy tales, an essential part of what is differentiated instruction is knowing your students and including their interests and their choices. Your observations will help to compile these ideas. Applying the evidence you have collected in your notes to differentiate writing instruction. This is actually the fun part. However, it sounds dry to start. If you haven't already started to implement the essentials of differentiation as laid out by the 4 pillars of differentiation, then let's talk about what those core principles are. So, the core principles of differentiation for every subject have been determined by Carol Tomlinson, a leader in the concept of differentiation in instruction. Carol is a professor of educational leadership foundations and policy at the University of Virginia. The pillars she has spoken to are content, process, product, and learning environment. And I will say the first 3 significantly impact the last. I write in greater details about these in multiple blog posts that I've written on differentiation. Find the links to some of these blog posts below. It's a big topic and I write about it a lot. Now that differentiation part is fun because I found a lot of freedom to create a vibrant class as I grew to understand differentiation. For me, it meant I had the freedom and responsibility to incorporate play-based learning into writing workshop. By incorporating provocations into my class, my students understood writing to be about sharing their excitement about their imagination with the people around them. By incorporating peer editing, writing became a social activity and community building. There ain't nothing better than sharing your story with a friend. And with proper instruction and support, there ain't nothing better for social emotional learning than teaching children to give and receive appropriate feedback to and from others. By providing tools such as anchor charts and personal dictionaries, I extended the zone of proximal development for some. If you don't know what that is, see links down below about to give you information on that. Do they work better at a desk facing a wall to help them focus? As mentioned, I have written more extensively on these and more on the blog post mentioned above, and I encourage you to check that out. So my 6-step summary of being confident of how to confidently know what is differentiated instruction and writing. The steps are simple. 1, jump in with 2 feet. Take a chance. You and your students can do this. If you are not sure about that, tweak your classroom management. Differentiation of instruction and your classroom management techniques do go hand in hand. If you aren't sure what to tweak, again, I'm going to suggest download my checklist from the links below. 3, provide engaging and authentic opportunities for writing. If you are struggling with all the things, I suggest writing prompts. I've created monthly journal writing prompts, which you can find in my store. These prompts support differentiation by offering the same prompt to each student for inclusiveness. supporting authentic writing opportunities by allowing them to choose their writing prompt, providing open-ended writing prompts, including a small image to provide a simple on-the-page provocation, although it's better to give them something hands-on if you can, partnering very well with Lego or other modeling materials to support their hands-on learners. They come with a separate editing checklist with visual cues to support your students without cluttering the page. My writing prompts include backsides for each level of writing to encourage more writing because writing begets writers. There are 4 developmental levels of writing paper per prompt to allow for different levels of developmental levels and challenge. Level 1 is for students who are not yet able to write, only draw, and perhaps label. Level 2 is wider interlined paper for students who need support with their letter formation. Not too many lines though, you don't want to overwhelm them. Level 3, the lines are closer together for more writing lines on the page, but there is still an interline to support letter formation. Level 4, the lines are the same width as level 3, but without the interline. These students are transitioning to fluency in writing. Then 5, 4 was a big one, complete your formative assessments. 6, use your notes and get to know your students. 7, apply what you have learned, but not all at once because that is overwhelming. Rome wasn't built in a day, and because you are a phenomenal teacher, you already know you will be growing and learning throughout your career. Take this one step at a time. When you think of what is differentiated instruction in writing, or any other subject for that matter, the first 5 years of teaching are a lot. But every step you take makes it easier. You've got this. So ready, set, go. Thank you for joining me today for this video on how to confidently know what is differentiated instruction in writing, and I hope you join me again soon. Please press like, subscribe, and notify so I can help as many teachers as possible. And remember to use the link below to download my free classroom management checklist. See you soon. Bye now.